All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always, man, by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Ruchaha Kodash. The bond is unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone. I want to send much love unto the brothers out there doing this work in truth and sincerity. And also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And in this morning's lesson, I wanted to read the book of Philippians chapter 3, verse 1, maybe down to verse 14 to 15. We'll see here through the Spirit, but I just wanted to get into this passage here as pretty much as an exhortation, and Lord willing, this is edifying. So I have it pulled up here in the NLT Bible. So here we go. It says, the priceless value of knowing Hamashiach, which is the anointed, right? It says, Philippians 3 and 1, whatever happens, my dear brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. I never get tired of telling you these things, and I do it to safeguard your faith. So whatever happens, meaning what? The things that you go through, right? Good or bad, rejoice in the Lord. And the Apostle Peter also speaks about that, man. Count it joy, man, when you go through things, right? Trials of your faith. Rejoice in the Lord. It's all a part of this walk, okay? And some people don't want to deal with the hell and the fire that the Lord throws into their lives, okay? They don't want to deal with it because it's a spiritual battle. You got to be in the spirit, man, to keep moving forward. If not, you'll be overtaken by the flesh and the worries of this world, because they will get the best of you if you don't fight in the spirit, bro. This is why in this truth you have to be a spiritual person. You cannot deal in the flesh, okay? If you deal in the flesh, you're not going to make it to the end, because eventually some going to trap you in the flesh, man, and overthrow your faith. You don't want that, all right? So when you go through things, whatever it may be, rejoice in the Lord, right? It says, watch out for those dogs, those people who do evil, those mutilators, mutilators who say you must be circumcised to be saved. And this is a very important verse here, right? Verse 2. Listen to how Paul addressed these individuals who say you got to be circumcised according to the law of Moses to be saved. He addressed them as dogs and evil people, right? Because these individuals who are trying to get you to be saved through the law of Moses are pretty much condemning you unto judgment. They're making you neglect Yahushai and ultimately trying to seek salvation on your own as an individual. And that's not wise. That's not smart. That's not salvation-like, okay? If you're trying to seek salvation through the law of Moses alone, right? If you go that route, you can be sure that the Lord is going to destroy you, okay? None of us can keep the law perfect. None of us, okay? If it was hard for our forefathers to do it, right? Which Peter spoke about that in the book of Acts 15. If it was hard for them to do it and they had somewhat sovereignty, right? If they couldn't keep it, do you really think you can keep the law of the Most High in Babylon the Great or wherever you may be? You can't, brother. Neither you sisters out there, okay? You cannot keep the law of Moses perfect. You can forget about it. Ultimately, you're saying that Yahushua came in vain. That's what you're saying. You're saying that the beating, the humiliation, the sacrifice of Yahushua means nothing to you. You don't need it because you can keep the law perfect, right? You're a fool. You got certain individuals out there where you had a particular guy talking about show him where he's going off in the law. And then time went by and the Lord showed how he was going off in the law. Oh my goodness. He was going off bad, okay? Doing things worthy of being unalived, okay? So look, man, if you're teaching that you can be saved through the law alone, the Lord is going to destroy you, and you're evil and you're a dog. You're putting a burden on brothers and sisters' back that no one can carry. This is why Yahushua came, man, so that we don't have to seek salvation through that way. The Lord gave us another way to obtain everlasting life, and that's through faith in Hamashiach. Now, is that saying that we don't got to keep the law? Of course not. Paul tells you in his epistle, he said, we established the law. And we try to keep the law to the best of our ability. You can't be in Yahushua and not keep the law. You can't say, oh, I believe in Yahushua, and then, be out here committing adultery and unaliving people, robbing, all these things. No. So, of course, in Yahushua, you got to keep the law. But we're putting our faith in Yahushua, man. That's going to get us saved. It says, for we who worship by the Spirit of the Most High are the ones who are truly circumcised. We rely on what Hamashiach Yahushua has done for us. We put no confidence in human effort or the flesh. Okay, we rely on the sacrifice of Yahushua. Okay, that's our hope. And that sacrifice is a sure thing, man. The blood of Yahushua means something. Okay, there wasn't no willy-nilly thing that he did. He actually died, man, and shed that blood for the remission of our sins, bro. And you got Israelites out here trying to drag brothers and sisters back into the bondage of the law. Out on the highways and byways, running into random jakes, going about their daily lives, screaming at brothers and sisters who know nothing about Israel. But you're screaming at them saying, brother, where your fringes at? Sister, where your dress, where your fringes at? Do you know how freaking crazy you sound, dude? Jake know nothing about Israel. They know nothing about the law, none of this. And you meeting a random Jake on the highways and byways, and you're yelling at him saying, brother, where your fringes at? Sister, why you ain't got no dress on? Where your fringes at? That's a crazy doctrine, man. That's a crazy doctrine that makes you an evil person. Paul says you're evil. Okay? Paul said those people who do evil. Because you're putting a burden on brothers and sisters, man, that no one can carry. So it makes you an ugly person. All right? It makes you over-righteous. We rely on what Hamashiach Yahushua has done for us, man. That's the hope. It says, though I could have confidence in my own effort, if anyone could. Indeed, if others have reason for confidence in their own efforts, I have even more. So Paul's saying, look, if you want to, put confidence in your own effort of the flesh, Paul said, look, man, I keep the law better than you. If you want to take it there, if you want to boast about keeping the law, I keep it better than y'all. Right? Paul said, I have even more. I was circumcised when I was 8 days old. I am pure-blooded citizen of Israel and a member of the tribe of Benjamin, a real Hebrew, if there ever was one. I was a member of the Pharisees who demanded the strictest obedience to the Jewish law. I was so zealous that I harshly persecuted the church. And as for righteousness, I obeyed the law without fault. How many of you individuals can say that? How many of you individuals can say you obey the law without fault? Come on, man. You can't do that, bro. We grew up in Babylon, all right? You came out the world more than likely as a Gentile, man. None of us was raised up in the faith, keeping the laws. None of us, okay? None of us. So if Paul, who kept the law perfect, right? He's saying, look, I did everything the law required me to do, right? Then he says, I once thought these things were valuable, right? Meaning that they meant something, but now I consider them worthless because of what Hamashiach has done. So Paul said all of that he did, he said it was worthless, man, because of what Yahushua has done, bro. That sacrifice, man, outweighs what you can do in the law, bro. Way more, okay? It says, yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Hamashiach Yahushua, my Lord. For his sake, I have discarded everything else, counted it all as garbage, so that I could gain Hamashiach. So Paul said his status, everything that he did, he said that's nothing. It's garbage, okay? He ain't saying the law is garbage. He is not saying that. He's saying everything that he was trying to do to, seek salvation. He's saying, no. That don't compare to what Yahushua did, man. It don't compare, okay? So you guys out there who are burdened brothers and sisters with the law, man, you got to chill out, because that's a very dangerous doctrine, man. It says, and become one with him. I no longer count on my own righteousness through obeying the law, right? Paul said, I'm not relying on that. You still got individuals today relying on that, man. Their own righteousness, okay? There's a particular camp known as the IUIC who openly proclaim that, look, we can be saved through keeping the laws. Come on, man. Rather, I become righteous through faith in Hamashiach. For God's way of making us right with himself depends on faith. So you can't please the Most High, man, trying to keep the law. You brother, you're wasting your time because you can't do it. The Lord already said that we can't do it, man. He already said we can't do it. But you're going to try to prove to the Most High that he's wrong and what he said, and that you can keep the law perfect. You're playing a dangerous, dangerous game, okay? A very dangerous game that's going to get you destroyed for trying to amount to the measure of the law. It's going to get you destroyed, man. And ultimately, you're saying to hell with Yahushua and his sacrifice. That's what you're saying. Okay? It says, for God's way of making us right with himself depends on faith. I want to know Hamashiach and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. I want to suffer with him, share in his death, so that one way or another I will experience the resurrection from the dead. And do you guys believe in a resurrection? Do you believe the dead will rise? Huh? You got to believe in that, right? Like, you got to know that that's true. Do you have faith in that? Since you can keep the law so good, do you believe in the resurrection? Do you believe Yahushua rose from the dead, as the scriptures proclaim? Paul said, I want to know, right, Hamashiach, and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. The Most High raised him from the dead, man. That's power. That's mighty power, man. The Most High rose up his son, bro. Showed him openly 500 brothers and sisters at once. Showed him to the apostles, man. They saw him, okay? They saw him, man. Paul saw him. Why the hell you think they were ready to die, bro? Why do you think the apostles suffer how they did? They actually saw Yahushua rose from the dead, man. You can only imagine what that did to their faith, man. You can only imagine what it did to their faith, to their mind, to their spirits, seeing that. And that's the power that we're trying to experience, man. Just in case if one of us have to die, right, be unalived, the hope is that we experience the resurrection from the dead, because our faith is in Yahushua. He rose from the dead, and Yahushua testified that he's going to raise the dead when he returns, man. But anyway, it says, verse 12, I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things, or that I have already reached perfection. Meaning what? He already made it. He already perfect. He already saved. None of us is saved already. We hope to be saved, but we haven't achieved that yet. Okay? We haven't achieved it. If we did, we wouldn't be preaching and doing the work. Okay? We haven't achieved it yet. It says, but I press on to possess that perfection for which Hamashiach Yahushua first possessed me. So, in other words, we're striving for the kingdom. Okay? Paul said, I press on. I'm constantly doing the work. I'm constantly grinding. Okay? Trying to obtain that perfection. And that's the goal, man. Until our change come, you got to keep going. As of today, we're still in captivity. Right? As of today, we're still catching hell, still under the curses, still being gunned down in the hood, all these things. Until this change comes, you got to keep pressing on. It says, no, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it. But I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. And that's how you got to be in the truth, man. You can't dwell on the past, okay? The past is the past. Look, bro, whatever happened, happened, okay? The past is the past. You got to keep looking forward to what lies ahead. It says, I press on to reach the end of the race, okay, and receive the heavenly prize for which the Most High, through Hamashiach Yahushai, is calling us. So you got to keep pressing on, man, until you get that prize, brother. We ain't got the prize yet. We're in the race to get to the finish line of the prize. But until you finish the race, you ain't getting the prize. So keep grinding, man. Keep pushing. We all got to keep grinding, bro. It's hard. You have your days, man. We all have our days. Guess what? In those times, you got to pray, man. You got to pray, just keep on pushing on. Eventually, we're going to get that prize, Lord willing, right? So I'll close out with that. I pray it was edifying. I'll praise Yahweh Shai. Shalom.